Today we are starting our next lesson, which is on the Golden Rule of Algebra. And what we mean by the Golden Rule of Algebra is that whatever you do to one side of an equation, you must do to the other side. Now there are 3 or 4 properties of equality that actually go with the Golden Rule of Algebra, but this statement is basically the bottom line, that you have to maintain that balance as if it is a scalar balance that we want to work with. So to do that today, what we are actually going to do rather than solving equations is we are going to focus on creating those equations when given a solution. Now we're going to have 2 columns here, and basically what we're going to look at is if we talk about the Golden Rule, if we have the statement, for example, of 2 equals 2, what that means is that if I multiply the left side by 4, and I don't do anything to the right side, I end up resulting in having 8 equals 2, which we know is not a true statement. So therefore, we must also multiply the other side by 4 to maintain a true statement. The same thing goes when we're solving equations. If we have the statement a plus 3 equals 12, and we want to get rid of 3 by subtracting, and we only subtract it from the left side, we end up having a statement of a equals 12, which we know is not a true solution, because if we put 12 back in for a, we know that 12 plus 3 equals 15 and not 12. So we're going to focus on creating these equations today. So if we start off with the problem using w equals 3, we want to use that solution to create our equation of w minus 1 equals 14. We're going to start off with our first step of using order of operations to determine which operation to perform first. Now if you recall back in the last section of checking our solutions, we're kind of doing the same thing. Before it would have said, does w equals 3, or is it a solution for 5w minus 1 equals 14, where we had to substitute it in and show it works. And instead, what we're going to do now is, using our order of operations, we know that this is a solution. We want to work our way backwards. So using order of operations, I know that multiplication and division come before addition and subtraction. And because I know that, what I am going to do first is take my w equals 3, and I'm going to start by multiplying by 5 on both sides. And I'm going to write on my other side of my column, which is why I have it here, I'm going to write that I'm going to multiply by 5 on both sides. Now one phrase that I want you to get used to saying is the phrase on both sides. And the reason why I want you to get used to saying it is because if you can remember this phrase of on both sides, it's going to make your life that much easier when it comes time to actually going back and solving the equations, which will be our next step. So our next step, now that we have this, is to simplify. And so when I simplify this, 5 times w is 5w, and 3 times 5 is 15. So now we're starting to look like our final equation that we want, but we're not quite there yet because we still have that minus 1. So what I want to do now is 5w and do our addition or subtraction and subtract 1. But if I do it to the left side, to maintain that equality, I'm going to take and subtract 1 from the other side. So then I'm going to write down subtract 1 on both sides. Notice I'm once again using the phrase on both sides. And then finally, I'm going to simplify that. And when I simplify, I'm getting still 5w minus 1, and 15 minus 1 is 14. Now, I'm where I want to be, so therefore I can put a little check mark to know that I've gotten there. So to summarize that, we used order of operations to decide which order we were going to do the work. Step 2 is then to use that golden rule of algebra and do the work on both sides of the equation, with step 3 being really to repeat steps 1 and 2 as necessary. We will continue this in the next video.